Hey, I'm here with Tim, Exempt. Tell us a bit about yourself, Tim.
Okay, so my name is Tim James, but I DJ and produce under the name Exempt. I've been in the business for a long, long time. I trained classically as a kid, played piano, played in bands for ages, played a lot of sort of covers bands, social clubs, RAF bases, that sort of thing. Really good fun. Kind of took a bit of a retirement where I hit age 40, sort of concentrated on my business and the day job and my family. And then house music drew me back in. I couldn't be away from it for too long. And I got back into house music in a big way about 5 years ago. Been writing and producing my own stuff. Been working with a guy called Phil, South Coasters. We DJ and produce under the name North-South Divide. We're just sort of releasing stuff at the moment. We've been at the conference sort of hawking our tracks around to various labels and stuff, and having a few cheeky bootlegs out and things like that. So having a great time. Yeah,
it's amazing here, isn't it?
It is absolutely brilliant, and especially today, the sun's out and it's gorgeous. Sunglasses on. You got cooler sunglasses than I have. But I'm gonna hunt out some orange sunglasses. I think after today. Nice. Yeah. Although we'd look a bit like I don't know,
a pair of twins.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, look like Chickle Brothers or something.
And we got the disco bug in the background.
Oh, isn't it?
There's
great?
A great vibe.
And I'm loving the music they're playing as well. Yeah,
it's great, isn't it?
It's great. I've been cheekily Shazamming a few songs while they've been playing. So yeah.
You were telling me you're a bit of a Shazam addict.
Well, yeah, I kind of use it all the time. I mean, you're always looking for tracks, aren't you? I mean, just always looking for something that you can play, something that's a little bit different, something that's not, number 2 on Beatport or something. You're looking for something that's going to resonate with the audience, something that's going to fit in with your vibe. But yeah, I've discovered the latest version of Shazam. You can actually put it on your home screen, on the lock screen of your phone. So you just hit one button and it Shazams it for you without you having to unlock your phone, which is brilliant because, as I say, sometimes it's a bit embarrassing when you're in a club and you're sort of holding it up to the speakers and and the DJ can see that they obviously Shazamming it, which is obviously looks a bit obvious, but now you can just sort of cheekily do it in your pocket. Yeah.
Is Shazam your number one sort of music discovery? Or do you use Spotify, YouTube as well? Or
Spotify quite a lot, yeah, because I drive a lot. I have a day job and I spend a lot of time driving, so I use a record box app on my phone, so I'll put a record box playlist on my phone and then you just put that on shuffle or something. I'll just play that, and then sometimes with Spotify what I'll do is if I find a song that's working for me at the moment, I'll just play on Spotify and then just hit radio, and then it will just play a ton of other tracks like it. And occasionally you come up with gold, and then I spend a lot of time just on the button on the steering wheel just to go to the next track and like nah, and then suddenly you find one that's gold and you think, right, I'm going to find that. Yeah, but I'm playing a lot of my own remixes as well at the moment, which is
hit that like
fun.
Button while you're driving.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, well, purely legally, of course. Yeah, but I've got a proper holder for my phone as well. So yeah.
So you're building like tracks in Spotify as you go. Do you then come back to that when you're sitting at your desk and go through it again and then go
very much so. Yeah, very much so. And I'll say it's probably a case of, I'll hear songs, like I'm hearing songs now and I'm thinking, I Shazam this. And then I'll go through my Shazam and see what I Shazammed. A lot of the time, Shazam doesn't find what you're looking for, which I think is, in some cases, quite a good thing.
Yeah, right.
I jumped on some decks earlier on, and there's some Denon decks just inside the conference.
They're amazing.
Nobody on there.
Yeah.
And so I said to the girl, I said, I don't suppose my record box USB will work in this, will it? And she went, it does. I'll plug it in. And because none of the cue points are there, none of the sort of, because I use coupons quite a lot to jump around the tracks when I'm playing, and none of those were showing up. But I don't know. I think you can use the Denon software. I'm sure you can. But yeah,
that's interesting. So it'll read your tracks on the Denon hardware, but it won't pull through the cue points and presumably the beat grid as well. It'll just create its own.
That happened for me next door. I'm sure it probably does.
Right.
I felt because there were 4 decks, and I felt a bit out of it. And plus, there's a few people watching me, so it's a bit like, whoa, hang on a minute. But I was just happy to be on and play my tracks, really.
The touch screens on those are absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I did like that. Yeah.
What do you normally play on?
CDJs, obviously.
CDJs.
Yeah. Although, I mean, to me, it's all about the music, really. I did a gig in Hull as a venue that I play at called the Old Schoolhouse, and probably one of my best gigs to date. and I played a half-hour warm-up set. They had a techno DJ on called WAF, who I'm not fully familiar with, but I had a bit of his set and really liked it. But the promoter said, look, we're going to open the outside courtyard as a bit of a smoking area. They've got a courtyard area, it's got lights and massive big void sound system, and they use it in the summer. But obviously it was pretty much closed down because it's the winter. But they said, we're going to open that up as a smoking area, and we're going to set some decks up. Do you want to go and play? And I was like, yeah, okay, fair enough. And they said, just keep it sort of low tempo, really. But I went and started DJing. And they had a little dead-on thing. It was about the size of an A4 sheet of paper. I found out later it's a little battery-powered thing. It's called a Prime Go.
The Prime Go, yeah.
Yeah, I've never seen one before. Put my stick in, and I thought, well, either it's going to read the tracks or it's not. And it did. And tiny wheels that reminded me of like 30 years ago when I used to have a twin CD player, twin demo CD player with these tiny little wheels.
Amazing.
Yeah, jog wheels. And you sort of get a bit spoiled by the massive wheels you got on Pioneer now. But
that sounds fun. Did you enjoy it?
Oh, it was really good fun, yeah. And apparently, I only had this afterwards, another DJ who'd been booked to play. So I took one look at this thing and said, oh, I can't play on that. And he buggered off. And so I played, but I did play about 6 hours altogether.
Really?
All through the night, yeah. They kept telling me to stop playing because people coming out of the main club, this headliner that they paid a lot of money for, coming out of the main club and dancing to my music in the courtyard. And it was Boxing Night. It was freezing cold and people were dancing outside. So I count that as a success. But as I say, it's not about the gear, or it shouldn't be about the gear.
Yeah.
You know, I think sometimes if you're under pressure, you need to know your way around the gear, and you need to know what you're doing. You need to have that confidence. But really, it should be about the music. Yeah.
100%. Always comes back to the music.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you created a cool vibe and everyone wanted in.
Well, yeah, absolutely, yeah. But I say, when I'm playing on CDJs, if I've got a track that's not working properly, I usually use the same cue points on every track. So, like, A is where the track starts, and B is where the track can stand up on its own.
Yep.
And then D is the point where I bring the next track in.
Yep.
And then usually I'll use some of the other cue points. So on the 2000 Nexus 2, which is what I normally end up using,
yep,
you've only got 4 cue points available. You can get 8, but you have to press shift or something.
Yep.
So I tend to use like A, B, C, and D. But I've had a couple of times.
You do that for all your tracks?
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
So you know where you are on every track?
Yeah, I'm very, very fussy about that. Because you know a lot of DJs, they don't like the sing button.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm a bit snobby about that as well. But I think a lot of the reasons people don't like the sing button is because they say, well, it doesn't mix it as well as I could. Well, it's like, well, if you spend the time in Recordbox and you line the grid up properly, because Recordbox does a fairly good job of lining the grid up, but it doesn't always get it spot on. Yep. And so I go in there and I'll just shift it around a bit, and I'll put the metronome on, and I'll make sure the grid is absolutely locked.
And you do that for every track?
For every track I play, yeah.
You download?
Yeah. And then I think, well, if I'm in a situation where, you know, I mean, hopefully I'm not, but if I'm losing it a little bit, I know if I just press that sing button, then it's just instantly back in.
Yeah.
And sometimes, you know, you're under pressure, you're having a conversation with somebody, or you're trying something out for the first time.
Someone just spilled a drink next to you.
Oh, yeah, all these things happen. And you just think, you know, yes, I can beat mix. But why wouldn't you use all the features that's there? But
obviously that does rely on you making sure that beat grid is absolutely spot on.
Oh yeah, it's got to be absolutely spot on.
You do that for every track when you import it into Recordbox.
Yeah, I do. Yeah. And sometimes I've only just started doing this now. Somebody told me that Fatboy Slim does this.
Right.
It's pure rumor. So Fatboy Slim watches this. You know, forgive me if I got it wrong. But somebody told me he puts all of his tracks into Ableton and warps them to 125 BPM, which sounds like a really good idea to me. Because most of the tracks I play are like 124, 125, 126. Yep. And so I'm just constantly up and down with the slider. And I think if I just put them to 125, then I wouldn't have to use the slider at all. And it's like cheating, maybe, I don't know. But is it taking away something that I've got to do that takes 20 seconds every time I load a track in, gives me 20 seconds to hype the crowd up a bit.
Yeah, right.
You know, because sometimes you'll be so focused on trying to get it matched in, trying to get it in sync, and you're just sort of tweaking the tempo slider, and you're moving the dials, and you think you missed something that happened on the dance floor.
Yeah.
And you think you should be interacting with the crowd. So I think use the technology to to do the hard work.
And to make the night more fun.
Well, absolutely. That's what it's
Ultimately,
about,
that's
isn't
the goal,
it?
isn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah. I mean, I remember back in the days when I used to use Cubase when I started off using Cubase on the Atari ST, and that was all MIDI stuff. But then when sequencers, as we call them then, we didn't call them DAWs, we call them sequencers, when they started using audio, I remember there's something on Logic that called the Time and Space Machine, and you'd sort of import your little snippet of audio, and then you'd have to use the Time and Space Machine, and you could change the tempo, and you could change the key, but you almost had to get a calculator out to work out how to do it, and you got very good at doing this. But it was a slog. It was quite demanding. And now you just grab a loop and drop it into Ableton, and it warps it automatically. And again, it doesn't always get it spot on. You sometimes have to tweak it a little bit manually, but it's really, really good. And you think, we use that technology and we talk about it, and it's like, why not use the technology that's in the CDJs? Why be snobby about it? So that's my view anyway. Nice. I know a lot of DJs don't agree.
So and where do you once you've found the tracks that you want to buy, where do you mostly buy them from?
Probably Beatport or Traxsource. Sometimes I go to Juno, because Juno sometimes will have a better selection of like disco stuff, which is kind of what I play. So disco house. But often it'll be Beatport. Sometimes I'll buy 3 or 4 tracks from Traxsource, and I'll just buy 3 or 4 more while I'm there. And then the next week I'll be on Beatport. So there's not really.
And do you buy MP3s, WAVs, AIFs?
I buy 320 MP3s.
320 MP3s.
Yeah. I've got a studio at home. I've done the thing where I put a WAV into a program called Adobe Audition. Put it into Adobe Audition, and you look at it on the screen, and you look at the MP3 320. You look at the WAV. I'm not snobby enough to think that I can tell the difference between a WAV and an MP3. And some crappy old 160 MP3s that I encoded off CD in the 90s. They sound a bit rubbish. But
well, it very much depends on the sound system and where you're playing. And
the other thing is, MP3s take up a lot less room, so you can have a lot more stuff on your hard drive. And you can get the artwork. Of course, you don't get the artwork with WAVs. So
how often do you back up your computer?
Oh,
tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Yeah, always tomorrow. Yeah, that's one of the things that does annoy me slightly. That once you bought a track off Beatport, if the worst happens, you can't go back in and say, look, I bought all these tracks, can I download them again?
I believe that if you contact customer service, they will help you with that.
Oh, really? Okay,
I've got a friend who had a similar situation, and they were actually pretty helpful with that. But it's not part of the platform. But I mean, I'm actually on my laptop, my hard drive's full anyway. So I have a separate hard drive, and I do take that off and put it on my studio computer and back Mac or Windows?
Funny enough, my studio computer is Windows, but my laptop is Mac.
But you don't usually play out with your laptop. You're mostly in the CDJs, right?
Oh no, I want to do that because I can play piano. I can play keys, and I sometimes see people like David Penn playing, and he's got a keyboard player, he's playing there, and I think, it'd be such fun. And but to be honest, I spent like 20 years turning up at venues with a transit van full of equipment. And spending 4 hours staying up, there's an hour sound check-in, and then you sit around for 3 hours, and then you go on and do your set for 90 minutes, and then you come off again, and it'll be 2 hours packing away. And now I love it. Put the USB in. I did a set once. I was playing 2 till 3 in the morning, again at the old schoolhouse in Hull, and I actually went to bed about 10 o'clock, and I set my alarm for 1. And got dressed, turned up at the club at 10 to 2, put my USB in, played for an hour, and then went home again. And I was sitting at breakfast the next morning thinking, did that really happen? And my wife said, didn't you have a gig last night? I went, yeah, when I did it. It's like,
surreal, like.
Yeah, just like woke up in the middle of the night, went and did a gig, and then come home again. But yeah, that is surreal. But I love the ability to do that. But I'm getting a bit old now, so the idea of just sort of being at a venue for 12 hours, when you're playing at 2 in the morning, I don't want to get there at 7 o'clock and start drinking because I'll just be wrecked.
No, can't do that. Amazing, cool. And so when you're building your playlist for sets, how do you categorize, or when you download everything, how do you categorize everything? And then do you, for a gig, will you put together a playlist of roughly what you want, or do you go from?
I do. I do one of two things. So if I know I've got an hour set, so for example, a week on Saturday I'm playing at Deja Vu in Hull, massive night. They got David Penn playing, Darius Sarosian, Seb Vito. That's a big event. I'm playing an hour on that stage, and I'm playing all original stuff. So I'm going to prepare a playlist and I'm going to play it.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a big crowd as well, so I don't want to be panicking thinking, what am I going to play next?
Yeah.
So I'll kind of work it out in advance. But the thing is, I've been pushing it on social media, and people are responding to that. So people are coming to see me play my original set. So that's the first time that's really happened. So I'm really excited about that.
Nice.
But then other times I'll have a playlist of, they'll be really weird names. So they'll be like a bit techie, or they'll say, house bangers, or I did a night, a daytime event called Hair of the Dog, and I put a playlist together for that. So I kind of know that
you can dip back into those when you.
So back in the days when I used to DJ events, I often used to be the case that I knew that. I sometimes didn't know the names of the tracks, but I knew it was that CD, and it was like CD2, and it was the 7th track. And you'd go to that CD, and it'd be like a Now compilation or something, and you'd play that track, but then you'd be scanning down and you go, oh, I'll play that one as well. And you kind of know, you kind of play one song after another, and it's a little bit like that now. So we playlist. So I know if the tech house is working, then I know I've got another half a dozen tech house tracks that are going to work, and I know how to mix them, and they're similar key, etc. So I know that's going to work. So if you asked me to play an hour now, I could do it.
Yeah.
But I'd go to a few playlists and I'd pick out certain songs.
Yeah.
But it would be a case of the first 3 tracks will be a case of, I'll see how this is worked. Right, that's working. Or, that didn't work quite so well.
Yep.
So that's when I come back to those cue points.
Yep.
So I'll go to my D cue point, which is the last sort of minute of the track. And as long as I got my next track queued in, I press start on one, D on the other.
Yep.
And then my next track's building up. So I'll try a few tracks. And then I often used to describe it as a bit like one of those sort of pinball machines, those sort of bagatelle machines, where you sort of start off at the same place every time, but you bounce around.
I love it.
Yeah, heaven knows 3 hours where you're going to end up.
Yeah.
But you could be completely different place.
And it depends how you're feeling, how the crowd's feeling.
Absolutely, yeah. This has got a bit more heavy, hasn't it?
I love it.
Started, yeah. It was a bit disco a bit before. But
yeah.
Amazing. Some of my tracks yesterday on the Bug, which is brilliant. A DJ called Blacker, he came over from Spain, and we met him on the Wednesday night. We gave him a USB. To be honest, he was a bit drunk, and I was thinking, I wonder if he's actually going to play these tracks. He said, oh yeah, I'll play tracks, I'll play tracks. And then we met him the next morning, and he pulled the USB out of his pocket, and he went, I'm going to play a track. So we were like, oh, we love you.
Amazing.
We were down at the label lounge, chatting to labels, and we missed it. But he played some of our tracks on the Bug, which is brilliant. But yeah, how brilliant is this with the sun shining?
Aren't we lucky?
Yeah.
Tim, what's your Insta? Where can people find you online?
Okay, so Exempt. Just type Exempt into Google.
Yep.
I'm very fortunate in that I've picked a random name, but it's spelled XZMPT. So no vowels in it. It's all capital XZMPT. Type that into Google and you'll find me. Because there's nobody else in Google with that name.
Amazing.
So North-South Divide, which is what Phil and we call ourselves. Unfortunately, there's thousands of newspaper articles talking about the North-South Divide. So you type North-South Divide into Google, you won't get very far. But our Insta is North-South Divide 21.
Exempt is easy.
Exempt is easy, yeah. But it's pronounced Exempt, but spelled XZMPT.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Wonderful. Tim, for talking to us.
Thanks for
really appreciate it, dude.
Cheers. Take care.
Cheers.
Thank you.